Hi everyone, welcome to my Shoreline Studio. I'm Sybille Muschik. Behind the camera is Joshua Blanc. Now last week he was right here drawing prompts out of a hat. So I have them in front of me. This was in episode 61. It says we have a writing tool, a furry texture, do the center of a flower, do a seed pod, and make coil-like marks. Fine, so we have our center of our poppy. I've taken some of the petals off so you can see exactly what it looks like at the center. And then all those stamens fall off. And here are the leaves. They sort of have, well, I wouldn't say fuzzy exactly, but so we're stretching the truth a bit. And here's our feather. I think this is an osprey feather, but I'm not sure. Pretty big bird anyway. So what I've done, here is our piece that I wasn't too happy with at the end because our feathers didn't really show up, or the leaves. So I mentioned that we needed to go a little bit further with that. So that's what we're going to do. Here's a poppy. It has a crushed look. And what I did is I traced that off and then I cut it out, put it on here with a little bit of sticky tape, and then put it on the gel plate like this. And then the gel plate sort of receives it, and the sticky thing is there. So I'll take that off. First of all, we're going to just put a layer of paint on this, so that we have a negative shape. This is a mask, and we have a negative shape of this poppy. And what we could do with the feather, of course, at this point as well, is let's see if we can just do some calligraphy here. And that works not too bad. This is just India ink. And of course, the nice thing about India ink is, especially if you're doing ink blots and things like that, it's not a consistent line, so it becomes very, very interesting. You're doing not bad here. This was a poppy stem that didn't even show up in the print. So we're going to crop the edge of the poppy leaf. Cropping is always good. All right, now we're going to remove that after we put our ink on, or our paint. It's just Amsterdam paint as usual. I'm just trying to darken it a little bit more. I have some medium in there, the open acrylic medium, so that I'm going to go roll it right over top. Oh, that's interesting. Of course, it hadn't quite dried. All our happy accents. So we're going to get some accidentals. That's always good. It's very warm in here, so I figured, oh, it's just going to dry on me as soon as I put it down, but it didn't. You just never know what to expect. And it gives a bit of darkness too, which is good. Now, before we were not rushing, which we're going to have to do this time. So I'm going to take the impression of the feather to show that we worked with it. And that should be good. And that'll show up as that lighter green. to hurry. Right, and the leaves, a few poppy leaves. I'll just take a little one off of here. We talked about the poppies and they're crushed and now it's really suffering and tearing it apart. We just want some interesting impressions. I do the petal, but I don't think it would make much of a mark. And let's see if we can roll the and maybe make some interesting marks in the areas where we don't have much of anything. All right, so we clear this away. All right, taking the mask off. Lining it up. And this time maybe we'll have a more successful result. The nice thing about gel plate prints is you can often just do another layer and another layer until you're happy with what you get. And I'm just going to flatten it out. And then hopefully, ooh. Now that's much better. So there you go. So we have our feathers. This time we can really see it. We can see the leaf impression here, the nice edges, and more of the feather back in here. And sort of the black gives it a bit of an outline. So I have my watercolor pencils here, and I'm just going to make some puddles of paint. And we're going to stain the poppy. Try and get as close to the range of colors. Now, if you look closely, there's quite a range of colors in there. It's quite beautiful. So the paper I was using for this print was the Oriental paper. It's at Amazon. So let's try a few more variations of the color. This one's a little more violet. I would work directly on the paper, but we might just, because the paper is delicate, it just might have holes. So I don't want to take a chance and, you know, maybe press too hard or rip it. So doing it watercolor style is probably our best bet. So here's a nice variation. That one's very pale, so maybe that should be more at the outside edges. Just wetting it and then rubbing it on my extra palette. And it's a good idea to, in your composition, if you have a color in one spot, to repeat it somewhere else, just to tie the whole thing together. And I really like that color. It's the most intense one. Whoops. Now we get that delicacy that the poppy has. And maybe put it in the stem a little bit. This is how you can tie it together. Some of these little pod shapes, we can add a little bit of that color to as well. So I really want it intense here where the leaf is curling up a bit. I'm not sure that will show, but whatever. Okay, back to our feather and our so let's outline these tops of the poppy pod. And these shapes here. That's the inside. That's quite dark, you see, so we can do that. By the way, it's really good practice to draw something every day, even if it's just for your own pleasure, something that it's just good discipline. It helps you think things through. Lots of people do that, and just whether they journal, you know, visually, or they're practicing drawing specific things. Just keep a little notebook handy. Try different tools like this. It just helps you to clarify your mind. For a while I was doing notans, the Japanese style, and all that is two colors where you reverse it, the shapes. And then you put that shape right next to the first shape. You know, if you have a dark shape, then you put the light one next to it and so forth. And you can get quite creative that way. So let's just do this petal here because it turned. And I think this one was turned a little bit too. So getting a little bit of detail. So just finishing the drawing here of the poppy, getting some little curly aspects of it to give it some three-dimensionality. This one had a little turn here. And you can practice all your mark making this way. Well, I think we're getting pretty close to finishing this now. And the stem had that fuzzy look, so we'll give it a little bit more pizzazz. And we just let it fade off the end there. Yeah, maybe some parts of the feather here. The other side of this feather was pretty short. And a little bit of a leaf. Anyway, you get the idea, and you will spend some time at home really working with this process, I hope, and resolving these prints. Doing some mark making, having fun with it. That's what drawing is all about. It doesn't have to be a great work of art. It can be whatever you want it to be, and practice and just enjoy yourself. So thanks so much for watching. This has been great fun as usual. Take care of yourselves and your families and be kind to one another. We'll catch you another time. Bye for now.